Do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Just like me, they long to be close to you.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and we got a special edition of the Jolley Marriage Show today. First, I want to welcome you. My bride is not here on this segment or episode because I got a good friend, a dear friend of mine with me. But for those who are first-timers, welcome to the Jolley Marriage Show. I'm Dr. Willie Jolley, and we are the host and the authors of the book, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, 10 Secrets to Shape a Great Marriage. We've been married going on 40 years, haven't had an argument over 35 years, and now we're helping people to improve, enhance, inspire them to really embrace their relationships and their marriage and do better, be better, have more in their relationships. My special guest today is the host of the RVA Small Business Show, Richmond, Virginia Small Business Show, is Corey Mosley. He's also the co-host of the morning show in Richmond on the CBS affiliate is Virginia
This morning.
Right. And he is a world-renowned speaker, author, and entrepreneur. And why I wanted to do this show, I'm in Richmond at this point. Dee and I, we did the CBS morning show here in Richmond, and then we did Corey's Small Business Show. And I said, you know what, I want to do a segment about our marriage book because Corey and his beautiful bride, Ziamara, came to D.C. one time. It was profound, our conversation. We went to dinner, and they talked about the impact that book had, our book, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, had on their relationship, on their marriage. Y'all, at that point, had been married about 15 or 16 years.
No, we haven't been married that long yet.
How long have we been married?
We've been married 11 years.
Okay.
We've been together.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, we've been together 19 years.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I knew it was somewhere because she said 15 years. I remember that.
Yeah, we've been together
but,
15 years.
But she said they both read, they got 2 copies of the book, they both read it, and at the end of each chapter, they would talk about it and what they learned in that chapter and what they learned about each other. And at the end of the book, I'll never forget this line. Ziamara said, we closed the book and we both had tears in our eyes because of what we learned about each other in the process. You know, it's not just the goal that you hit when you hit a goal, it's what you become in the process and what they became as a couple. So now y'all are 11 years married, 19 years together, and they're business partners. All right, so Corey, welcome to the Jolley Marriage Show.
Thank you. It's different to be on it versus watching it.
That's right, because we had somebody in the studio just said, I watch every week, and I said, that's great. So let me tell you, we are very excited about all the people who have made this part of their weekly routine, and we're encouraging everybody to share it with your friends, family members, and coworkers, and so forth. Now, Corey, you've been married for 11 years, but y'all been together. Tell us your story. The two of you, where'd you meet? Because y'all met...
Well, you know, she has her version of the story, and I have my version of the story, as with most things. But, you know, for us, it was a mall store.
A mall?
Of all things, yeah. So I had was going to start one of my another business. We're starting another business. I needed stationery. So the best stationery in the world at the time came from a company called Crane.
Okay.
So they're also the company that makes money.
Okay.
So the paper that U.S. dollars are printed on is from Crane. So that Crane was across that office, or their location in the mall was across the street from my office. So I went in to get stationery and business cards for my next venture, and I went in looking for the manager who I had dealt with before. So if my wife was telling the story, she would tell you I just blew in the store, ignored everybody, and didn't pay her any attention, which is quasi-true, but the reality was I was there to talk to the manager who I had dealt with before. Well, the manager was tied up or busy or really didn't care about dealing with me as a customer, so I ended up with another gentleman. So I started going through the process with what I was looking for, what I wanted to do. Then he says, you know what? I might not be the best person for you. Let me get someone else. And that someone else ended up being my wife. So through that process of meeting her there, and, you know, I'm going through the process, what I'm looking for, she's helping me. But I'm also an observant single person in my 20s at that time. So I'm also, taking a look at a few things that are going on, and I'm finding it pretty interesting.
Right.
So of course the conversation, and you, as you said, speakers, people like us who are orators that talk for a living or have to be outgoing, we steer conversations in the directions that we want them to go. So I just took an interest at that time into more about her. So we got the order done, but I also wanted to learn a little bit more about her. And then as time went on through the process of the order, we had these just different instances where I would show up and pop in and check on her and check on my order. And from there, she'll tell the story that I demanded that the guy work at the store give her my number or give me the number.
Right.
So I had the guy call. She wasn't there. I said, call her up on the phone. And, my order was in, talking about my order. I said, tell her I need to get her number. And so she gave the number. We went from there. I wish she was here to tell the story too, because the key, folks, is, you sell in person.
Right.
You use the phone to create the appointment. So what ended up happening was we had a few conversations, and I said, hey, you like movies? She said, I love movies. I said, well, we should go to the movies. So what do you think about that? She said, oh, okay, that's fine. I said, great. I'll call you later and we'll set it up. Goodbye. Now, the best relationships, and I don't know if this is like this for you, but the best relationships always start where the other person didn't think they liked the other person. So she thought I was a little arrogant. She thought on those little things. But arrogance actually is intrigue.
Intrigue. There you go. Okay.
What that was intrigue. What that really was, and I think she'll agree, is, well, who is this guy?
Right.
Right, coming in here doing this. That came off as arrogance, but really that was driving the intrigue. So we set a date, which she didn't think was a date. And then, from there was one date at the movies, then the dinner, and we've basically been together ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me just say her name is Xiomara. And
Close enough.
And how do you say it correct?
Xiomara.
Xiomara. Yeah. Xio.
Yes, that is correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Xiomara. I didn't know that all the time.
I'm sure she's gonna be thrilled about getting looked up now.
But she's just a beautiful, not just beautiful, physically beautiful. Her spirit is so wonderful.
Everybody loves my wife.
Everybody loves Xiomara. And she's just a sweet, real sweet person. Now, Corey is a hard driver. Now, let's talk about he's a hard driver.
With my team, no one will call me a hard driver. no one in there.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about your relationship.
Yeah.
You dated, you got married. You dated for quite a while.
7 years.
Yeah. And then you finally got married, or you finally figured out you needed to marry this woman. That's really what happened.
I think the truth of it is that marriage was not a paramount thing from a title in. It was not something, she wasn't the classic person that dreamt about their dream wedding and had all these things. So it just became, but as time went on, and I call it ironing out, right? So we dated 7 years to iron out everything.
Okay.
The things you don't know, right?
That's
because
good.
you would agree you're dating the representative at the beginning.
That's right.
And that beginning could be 6 months. It could be 6. People could hold out for years before the
real person.
Right, the real person, how they react under pressure, who likes their drawers thrown on the floor, or who can't wash a spoon. Those are things that you kind of have to know and then figure out if you accept them, right?
That's
Not
right.
Change the other person. Santa's acceptance.
Stop it. This is it, folks. He said something I want everybody to understand. Are you able to accept, not change, accept the person the way they are, the way they're hardwired? Because what we learn in our marriage programs, our seminars, the ones we've done with others and the one we've done ourselves, is that there are personality types. And those personality types are hardwired, just like you're left-handed or right-handed, just like your eyes are a certain color. You are hardwired, or your mate is hardwired. Trying to make them change something that is hardwired is going to be an uncomfortable, impossible process on the end of the day, because they're not going to be happy, you're not going to be happy. So, can you accept? One of my mentors said, if you find someone who gets 70% of your the likes. You're doing really good. So that was a big point that Corey, that are you able to iron out the things that you can? And there's some things that, D has ironed out with me, certain things like I was sloppy.
Right.
Okay, I was well known to be sloppy. Why make up the bed? I'm going to get back in it tonight. Okay, why make it up?
Right.
But that was her thing. She wanted it at the pillars. And so we ironed that out. She was able to say, that would make me happy. And there was a benefit that came with making her happy. Sex. Okay, let me call it like it is. Men, you know what it is. Men, we talking about real talk. This is a real talk for men. Ladies, if you're watching, understand this. Men need two things. They need it desperately. They need it supersized. They need sex and respect. Okay? They need sex and respect. The studies show that men think about sex 17 times a day, according to statistics, sometimes even before breakfast. And so you need...
So these that are reported.
Right. And then they respect. They want to feel like they're the king of the castle. And even though my wife knows I'm the king of the castle, she makes all the decisions. As my father-in-law used to say, he said, I'm the head, my wife's the neck. The head can't turn without the neck, and I need the neck. And so I need her in parts of it. But here's what I want men to understand, that you've got a queen. Treat her like a queen. She'll treat you like a king. All right, so let's go back to y'all's relationship. You ironed it out.
Yeah.
You said, okay, what things can I accept between the two of you? And then what things, just have to go with.
Well, I mean, I think you would agree that the yin and yang is very powerful.
Yep.
I could never have married someone like me.
No.
Right? That would have gone 2 seconds.
That would not have gone well.
That might have been fun. There might have been fun moments and fun times, but that certainly wouldn't have stretched over a lifetime.
Right.
Right. Or even the possibility of doing that. So I think it was that yin and yang that really makes that work. And it is that acceptance, and it is that knowing someone's personality, being able to interpret. It's kind of like having a great team. I mean, if I come in here, my team knows certain things that I will need or will be available, right? That's the relationships that you build when you're with someone, whether that's employees or in a marriage.
Right.
So understanding that, anticipating those things, and then understanding the quirks, I think, has been just a reason why some of the situations that we've observed with friends and other family members in terms of marriage, divorce, all those things, I think we've been able to avoid those, because I think we worked really hard to get it right the first time.
Right.
Because I was someone, we're having this real talk moment. I was someone who just said, marriage is not really a big deal. I could just as easily, I got married, I can easily get divorced. It wasn't not lacking faith, but that wasn't a principle like that you can't get divorced, or it was just, hey, if you can get in it, you can get out of it. And that was my attitude really going in, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I think now you go, it's one of the things I was never convinced by. I had all these friends like, oh, when you get married, what, it's going to change. Everything's going to change when you get married. That was the argument, that, it's great, you're dating, you're learning these things, but as soon as you get married, and I remember this vividly, sitting around with business colleagues out of town at a convention, having this conversation over a beer, and the guy says, I got married. We went to Hawaii on a vacation. Somewhere on the trip back, my cojones got taken out and put on a shelf. And I remember it vividly. I don't know. That's not going to happen. That's not a reality. That's not my DNA. That's not my personality. And our relationship has not changed in marriage as it was when we were dating. So I don't know what happens with other people. I don't know.
I think that's a powerful point. A couple of things you said that I want to dig into. For those who listen to my XM show, I always look for the pearls, and I dig in and I pull them off the ground. One is that you said earlier, sometimes it's the fact of yin and yang, and the fact that maybe one partner really wasn't as into the other one as one was. Dee was not interested in marrying me at all. She wasn't even interested in giving me her real phone number. All right, so I had to work for that. Then I had to work to get her to go out on a lunch date. Then I had to work to get her to go out on a second date. And then I had to work to get her to have me over to her place for dinner. I had to work for everything. And then when we started really dating, and we dated for 4 years, when we got married, and those who have heard the story or look at some of our former shows, how we went out for lunch and I talked her into going by the Justice's Peace as a informational visit to figure out whatever happened.
That's a close. Right,
oh man, I closed. And before we know it, she was married. 15 minutes later, she was married. Got to hear the whole story. But the lesson there was that I was willing to do the work. Now, second is, as he said, is the yin and yang, and that people are going to say you change or you lose your selfhood. I didn't lose my selfhood. Here's what I did do. I did say to her, I need to be the head of the household. Now, knowing that you're really smart, knowing that you have some skills and abilities that I don't possess. So here's what I ask. Let me think I'm in charge. Just let me think I'm in charge. You can run everything. Just let me think I'm in charge. And she said, I can do that, because her mama had done that. Her father was a pastor. He was an entrepreneur. He was a business owner. He was a man who everybody respected in the city. But her mother ran everything. And in the Bible, it talks about the Proverbs 31 woman who makes sure everything's going. The husband sits in the city's center and discusses the ways of the world. But she's back making sure the house is taken care of. The children are taken care of. The food is prepared. The home is set. And she also is a great investor. She takes the money he makes and invests it. And that's what Dee does with me. And she takes the money and invests it. Well, as I like to say, I'm the tree shaker. She's the jelly maker. Okay. All right. So, Corey, we only got a few more minutes in our show. I want to talk about the book. You and Seymour read the book,
sure,
and it had an impact. It had a positive impact. Tell me, we talk about 10 things in the book. Friends first. Y'all are friends.
100%.
All right, and folk, we don't make a small thing about this. You need to make sure that y'all are good friends, because people get married for all sorts of reasons. But those who are friends enjoy their marriages. Now, what happens if you're already married and you're not best friends with your married person? You got married for whatever reason. They look good. They had money. They had a nice house. They had a nice car. We have some points in the book as to what you can do to improve that friendship. So we encourage you to get the book if you don't have it. And again, get 2 copies so that y'all can read it at the same time. Because that's what y'all did. Y'all came back and said, we learned from each chapter. Next is, make God equal part of your marriage. And that means that y'all have a faith component here. Third one is, decide to make it last. Now, that's something you talked about earlier.
Yep.
That marriage was not something you were saying you get in, you get out. Right. But it changed. It did. Okay.
Well, it became a situation where you're like, this works.
This works, and let's make it
This is working. And if it's not, and if we're seeing those areas, I mean, listen, the big takeaway here is, I think all too often, and I see this with clients in business, I think it applies here. And it's the same way of how a coach, right, how you can come in and coach somebody else, but you don't take your own medicine. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the greatest takeaways here is reevaluating the importance of communication, right, and that the role that plays in the process, not letting a situation get out of control, not feeling like you can't communicate with the other person if you're dissatisfied, unfulfilled, insert whatever you want there that is applicable to you. But I think that becomes a big part of just really taking your own medicine. You know, we spend our days communicating with the public, communicating with business owners, people, impacting lives in all these different ways. We have to apply we can't turn it off when we go home. We have to apply those same principles. You can't have a dentist with jacked up teeth.
That worked,
right? Right? So you question that.
That's right.
So I think it's the same thing here. We can't be these great community. That's why they say sometimes don't meet your heroes, right? Because you see an external version, but those people, a lot of times, many of them don't live by those principles. So we can't be out here communicating, helping business owners, helping individuals develop themselves professionally, and then we can't communicate in our own house.
That's right. So I'm encouraging everybody to communicate. You know, for those who don't know, for those who might be joining the first time, we give away the chapter on communication. Marriages break up for one of three reasons: sex, money, communication. And of the three, communication is the biggest driver between the three because they're the common denominator. If you have good communication, you have a better love life. Have good communication, you have a better money life. So you got to learn to communicate with each other. And we give you the 4F. And for if those who haven't seen the TED Talk, go see the TED Talk at jollymarriage.com. Share with everybody, how to never argue, get in marriage. We give you the 4Fs for critical conversation. Have you had a critical conversation with your marriage sometime? An important conversation, a difficult conversation? We all do.
Sure.
And so you got these 4Fs. Be friendly, be frank about your feelings, be fair, so you hear their side, and be focused on a win-win. And so we want you to go through those processes and get the free chapter, or get both of y'all get a copy of the book, get 2 copies, and go through it. Well, the next one is leave the drama with your mama. Now, you got to leave the drama with your mama.
Yeah.
Now, you have this easygoing wife, and you are
Just that y'all know.
that we know. I mean,
Right.
but you are
Wife is Latin,
she's Latin, right?
and that's built in. Genetics. There's some genetics.
All right.
involved.
So, but you a hard driver. Anybody who knows Corey Mosley, this guy is a entrepreneur's entrepreneur.
Intensity is important.
Yeah, he makes me laugh sometimes when we're together with his level of intensity about even like airlines. He got a thing with airlines. All right,
I don't even remember the story we're talking about.
funny. But that's just know that. Okay, but he's intense. So there are gonna be moments where you bring some of your baggage,
100%. And we work together every day.
and you work together,
So those are two unique.
and you travel together.
Working with a spouse is either a train wrecking disaster, or there is no middle. I believe there's no middle ground. Whether something you absolutely under no circumstances should do, or it's something that works very well. The middle ground will cause problems if one of those two things aren't happening. You're going to have problems that I think will be insurmountable. So
Right.
you have to be able to toggle between those two things, but have that fluidity.
Okay.
So, and be able to say, you know what mode are you in, right? So after 6 o'clock, we're in personal mode, right? You gotta.
That's a big
yeah.
point. That's a big point. Big point. And I want to take a moment here because sometimes people, particularly those who work together, they don't know when to cut it off, shut it down.
Right.
Where one part ends and another part begins. So I've had to work with Dee over the years on that because she's a type A, hard driver about business. And I tell her, no business in the bedroom. No business in the bedroom. And she brings the computer every night in the bed. And I said, why are you doing that? I might get another idea. But I said, no business in the bedroom. We don't discuss business. I won't talk about business. She'll say, what do you think about tomorrow? Not doing it. And I have a day off. Sunday's my day off. I will not go to the office. I won't talk about business because I need to breathe, go bike riding or whatever. So what you had just said was that at 6 o'clock.
And I'm saying it's just the ability to say, are we talking business or are we talking what?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right. So, and just the nature of our business. Now the dynamic's a little different. We're not in a partnership. We're not co-owners. A lot of people put on that kind of air, she came into the business that was already existing. Right. So there's also that dynamic.
Yeah.
Of, I'm not going to say employee, employer, but yeah, I mean, that's the.
Dee says often to me, she'll say, you know what, my boss gets on my nerve. I said, you should leave that job and leave that old boss. Now, who happens to be the boss? That's at home. And I'll say, I got you if you leave that old boss. She said, okay, good. But we laugh about it, but that is what it is. So you got leave the drama with your mama. And then how do you handle the stalemates in life? Now, you're the boss at work.
Right.
When you get home, how about if you want to go one way, she want to go the other? You really want to go, how do y'all work through that?
Well, I think, so much of my philosophy on marriage and relationships is about picking the right mate in the beginning. A lot of the problems I believe people have 3 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in marriage was because they ignored behaviors in the beginning. So I looked at there were key things that I looked at in the beginning, right? I looked at what the mama looked like, number one, and my mother-in-law is a beautiful woman. So I checked the box on that. There wasn't going to be any surprises that I'm expecting as time goes on. Two, I also looked at what the values were.
Boom.
I looked at what the values were.
Value
was exhibited.
decisions. Value based.
And Willie, that's not to get confused. People think when you start to talk like that, you're getting into some kind of sexism or something like that.
Or
But
even politics. They might think
Right.
values. No, it's about the type of person that is.
Right, and not, again, people get that misconstrued in terms of how people how someone will cater to you or not cater to you, right? If those values, we're not one of those couples that has Mondays is your day to do dishes. Like, those were not values that made. My grandparents were married for 70 years, and had what we would call traditional values. So I'm not in this. We don't have these conversations about Tuesday is your night to cook, and we're 50-50. We're partners. That's not really the dynamic. You said something earlier where you said, you were trying to convince her. I have always believed that there's always someone in a relationship that loves a little bit more, and that's okay.
Okay.
But you got to understand that going in.
Right.
And the person who loves more, I use the word loses, not loses, but the person who loves more has a little bit less control.
Let me say how we teach it. We teach it like this. Marriages are like a seesaw. And the best marriages is whoever loves least is in power. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the person loves more is not. And the best relationships where it vacillates. It goes from side to side. So today, I love more than she does. Tomorrow, she loves more than me. And it's like a seesaw. And it goes, one day she's up, one day I'm up. One day she's up, one day I'm up. And that's where the power of the relationship comes good. And y'all are willing to throw the power out. Or as one guy who's the biggest divorce lawyer in Maryland, drives up to the gym in his Bentley. He and his wife been married 50 years. He says, the secret to our marriage is we share the power. And we let the power go between the two of us. Okay, we only got a few minutes.
Predictability, I just want to make a point.
Yeah, please.
When you talk about having stalemates and things of nature, my wife can interpret in many cases to a 90% certainty what my opinion will be on any given situation.
Yeah.
And I can do the reverse. So I think that dynamic keeps you out of trouble a lot, because she will go, well, I know Corey ain't going for this, or he's not going to want to do this or do that or whatever. And I can do vice versa. I can reverse that as well.
We got 2 minutes. Tell people about the book and then why they should maybe it will be a blessing to them.
Well, I think there's no question. I mean, I don't care for people if you think your relationship is perfect. Right? So the key is going to be, how do we keep that process going? You're whether in two instances, whether maybe you're having some challenges that need to be fixed. This is going to be a great answer and a great conversation starter with some key tips. The second side of that is, you may have great momentum in your relationship and want to keep that going, right? Some things are preventative. Not everything is about something has happened, now let's fix it. How do we avoid? So this is just as much for people who may be experiencing challenges as people who want to prevent. They want to look at what's next. They want to have greater predictability. So, I mean, I think there's no question. And you're hitting the nail in a lot of areas. And I think one of the most impactful things that we've talked about is relative to how, when you say they've never had an argument in 35 years, well, the reality of it is learning that technique. One of the things that I picked up from you is this idea that if you're having an issue, you attack the issue, not each other.
That's it. Exactly.
And that's a nugget that, that's a huge takeaway, because for this to work, you want to have things that prompt you to think and take action. And that's what the book is providing, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Corey Mosley, if you're in Virginia, Richmond, you got to tune in. Where can they watch for your show?
They can watch.
Not even in Virginia.
Right, we stream everywhere. Yeah, rbasbn.com is our small business network that you can stream from anywhere in the world.
And I want to encourage everybody to do that. RVAS, as in Sam, BN, right?
Right.
Small Business Network. You want to watch that because he has me and Walter Bond and Della Toro, great speakers. He's well known in the speaking business, and we all respect him. That's why we come and do his show. But it will help your business.
And you've got a lot of books here. They can also check out my latest book, which is Entrepreneurship Confidential, available at Amazon, everywhere books are sold.
Corey Mosley, spell.
CorymosleY. Don't put the E in it. You have to answer my mama.
Have a great day, folks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on a special edition of the Jolley Marriage Show. We're going to go out with my music. Cheryl will put it in. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you.
Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Just like me, they long to be close to you.